Three times the charm and the need for greed. Ex-Bmf member Chad Brown, aka J-Bo, accused of possessing 53 kilos of cocaine and guns. Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. So before we get into this story, there's a couple of caveats that I want to mention that are associated with this story. Your most important commodities in life, especially after the age of 50, are your freedom and your time. Once you lose either one of them or both of them, you become the walking dead soul. So let's get into this case about an ex-Bmf member. Chad J-Bo Brown, 54 years old, of Georgia, was arrested by the DEA on Friday, August the 14th, 2026, after agents searched a home near Maryland Heights in St. Louis County, Missouri. Agents found the cocaine, 2 guns, and other drug paraphernalia at the residence. A court affidavit says investigators also found luggage and prescription medication in the home bearing Brown's name. And when he was arrested, he allegedly had the key to the front door of the house. The DEA learned about a cocaine shipment or a drug shipment that had arrived in St. Louis the day before Brown's arrest and suspected he was using the St. Louis County home as a drug house. Agents then conducted a court-authorized search of the residence on August the 14th, where they found roughly, you won't believe this, into 2026, with all the surveillance, with all the technological advancements, with everybody telling on everybody, the day of telling on somebody committing a crime is at an all-time high. This guy, and this is his third offense, decided that he was going to allegedly ascertain about 108 pounds of coke that was stacked in duffel bags inside a bedroom closet. The total seizure, 2026, this is not 1986, not 1976, not even 1996. This is today, with all of the surveillance, the FBI, these task force that are going after folks. He had a total seizure that came to about 117 pounds and or 53 kilos. The charge, he was charged by criminal complaint in the U.S. District Court in St. Louis on August 14th with 1 count of possession with intent to distribute more than 10 kilos of coke, and made his first court appearance on Monday, which is just a couple days ago, on Monday, August the 17th. This is a cautionary tale for everyone to listen to. That the need for greed and chasing the bag by any means necessary will end your 2 most important utilities that you have in life, your time and your freedom. So, BMF, what is the BMF connection? For those who don't know, Brown is a former associate of the Black Mafia family. BMF, a major drug trafficking organization, definitely in the 90s and early 2000s. His arrest was first reported by retired St. Louis police officer Tommy Sawyer on the Brighter Side of the Blue podcast. Officer Sawyer, who previously served on a DEA task force involved in a major 2005 BMF bust, noted that Chad Brown pleaded guilty to conspiracy to distribute drugs in that case, and that was back in 2005, and he went to federal prison for that. That's when Big Meech, his brother, Flonery brothers out of Detroit, or Flunery, or however you pronounce their last name, but Big Meech, them got caught up in that huge drug bust. And you got to remember that the ex-Missouri Attorney General, Bailey, is now the part of the co-acting director of the FBI, and they are sending, or have sent, FBI and DEA task force agents, I think 50 to 100 people here a few months ago, that are going to be targeting major drug and gun violence issues here in St. Louis. And that's all through the association of Andrew Bailey. Attorney Andrew Bailey, that's co-director of the FBI, I think. He described, so Officer Sawyer described BMF as one of the largest domestic drug trafficking organizations in the United States during the early to mid 2000s, with the St. Louis cocaine flow at one point, because St. Louis and Atlanta are like kissing cousins. A lot of people from St. Louis moved to Atlanta. Tons of folks. I know a lot of people that have gone. It's only a 8 or 9, 10-hour drive from St. Louis to Atlanta. A lot of people have migrated down to Atlanta. So BMF had a close tie in the 90s and early 2000s with a lot of folks from St. Louis. And so they said there was an estimated cocaine flow at one point that was between 200 to 1,000 kilos of drugs a month that was coming in St. Louis and being distributed. And we wonder why two of the biggest pillars that are destroying our society today, untreated mental illness and the opioid crisis. So what was his prior record? We talk about the need for greed. And three times a charm. His prior record, Brown pleaded guilty to bank fraud in 2024. So remember, he got convicted, pleaded guilty in 2005 to the drug conspiracy. He did like 11 years for that. Then in 2024, he pleaded guilty to bank fraud for fraudulently obtaining nearly $21,000 in a PPP loan, part of a federal roundup involving more than a dozen people tied to BMF. He was still on supervised release from that case and from 2024 when he was just arrested this month. So he went to prison 2005, did 11 years. So remember, he served 11 years in federal prison on his 2005 federal drug conviction. Then in 2024, he pleaded guilty to one count of bank fraud and one count of using a false writing or document, admitting to fraudulently applying for and receiving a $20,833 PPP loan for a false business called Popular Music Group, LLC. So he goes back to jail over $20,000. All this creativity that this young man has had as a kid, I've seen interviews with him on him. He was a good football player and all this stuff. He couldn't have utilized that negative energy into something positive. And this same gentleman could have been a doctor, lawyer, engineer. We do know he has the capacity to do multiple things, multitask, do multiple things at once. He has some business acumen, but he pointed it all in the wrong direction. So he did 2005, 11 years in federal prison for the drug trafficking. 2024, he pleaded guilty to a shell company for falsifying documents on a PPP loan. We call it bank fraud, and one count of using false writing or document. And now he got caught with over 53 kilos of cocaine. It looks like they're going to throw the book at him, probably. At 54 years old, if he's probably with the point system in the federal system, a habitual criminal, a well-known name, well-known affiliation. Unfortunately, the federal judge and the federal government might throw the book at him. He might end up spending the rest of his life in prison. So, in conclusion to that, I want to give you two verses out of the Bible that talk about the need for greed. So 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Proverbs 1, chapter 1, verse 19, such is the destiny of all who go for ill-gotten gain. It takes away the life of those who get it. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-conscious way.